I would like to start mixing English and Japanese. And now it's summertime. Now it's already kind of like 6 p.m. And the sun is still out and the cedar is singing. まあ、セミが鳴いて夏な感じですけど、とりあえず今日は、映像系の方とドイツとか中東の作家も少し取り上げようと思っています。それでは最初に、ミリアム・カーンさんのですね、カステル・ミュールっていう本なんですけど、The Foreignness Strania. Anyway, Miriam Khan is a painter, and now for this occasion, she is exhibiting her work not in a white cube setting, but I don't know where it is, but in a sort of like place like this. So Miriam Khan is a painter also known in Japanese fans, and this is the documentation and the interview of her for this, and just like this, carrying the painting and installing it, and there is a talk on it. So I just want you to see that. Okay. Actually, this took place in 2021, June to October, at Castelmure. So I think it's a German castle. It sounds like it, but so very unique catalog. And the next is Claudia Hill's Social Fabric Earth Return, and this is the poncho she wove in 2011, and the clothes set out on a journey to meet various artists around the world. So the subject is this poncho, and traveling all over the world, across the world, and going to like various artists, and sort of like visualizing the network of the interconnectedness of the artists and the friends. So day by day, this is like chronological order of the poncho traveling on this artist and that artist and blah blah blah. So one of the artists is Rilukrit Tiravani, and the other artist would be, this is the list of the artist where poncho was brought. So it's quite interesting to see that. So that's the one. This happened in 2011, and some are like poncho performed poncho was performing. So it's not the human, it's the poncho that is the subject, which is kind of like switching our perspective, which is quite intriguing, thought-provoking, and okay, that's the one. And next is this is one of my favorite artists called Katinka Bock. She is a German sculpture visual artist based in Paris and Berlin, born in 1976. So 今回はですね、彫刻家としてすごくまあちょっと地味にじわじわ来るっていう人なんですけど、僕が好きなアーティストです。そしてそのカティンカ・ボックさんが今回は写真を撮ってるっていうことで、まあ通常の写真というよりも彫刻家が撮った写真という趣向の本になってます。So this is a series of photographs she took from perspective of the sculptor. So it's not what we normally see in a photograph, but there's just some sort of like very unique perspective from the sculpting point of view. So it really takes I think we need a time to stare at it, and this is very subtle, delicate, and interesting raw sculpture who I really like. Katinka Bock from it's a German sculptor. Very interesting book. And next is Richard Tato, story 1 to 20. This is very unexpected catalog for me. Richard Tato is also another, one of the kind artist. Now I think he combines story with the artwork, and and he's very this is really unique catalog because the way the catalog is made is first black and white image of his work in 2020, and the story goes here and then goes to 20. The image of the work is also already interesting to me, but I couldn't see the hue, whether it's black and white or it's really colored or anything. The vague information first, and then after this catalog, thumbing through the pages, there is like very simple minimalistic map of the exhibition, and then there's suddenly the color of the work, and this kind of work obviously reminds me of the Akasaka Mitsuke of the Okazaki Kanjiro, who is a Japanese artist in his, I think, 60s, who is very interesting. Actually, I featured him in the Brahman Paul show, and Brahman Paul also is a representative of Okazaki, and this sort of like layer of the wood, and with a spray for this occasion. Richard Tato is really experimental artist and very minimal, yet we really don't. I don't really know what I'm looking at, so I have to stare it. So it's very interesting artist, and this is the detail of it, and I have to look back again. Richard Tato's stories 1 to 20. Okay, another the German artist called Andre Putzer. アドレ・プッツァーはまあ知ってる人もすごく多いと思うんですけど、This is the exhibition of the gallery Max Herzer from 2003 to 2022. So it's about 18 years compilation of his show at Gallery Max Herzer view. And Andre Puzza is also another artist known in Japan. I think one of the gallery represent him in Roppongi. I forgot the name of it at the moment, but the Yoshimi なんとか gallery だったかな。And this is really interesting chronological exhibition or catalog, and the a bit of an excerpt of the critics' point of view is in there. So through the phase of his career, he's changing very slowly but steadily. So I'm interested in his work as well. So this is very interesting guy. And the Andre Puzza exhibitions gallery Max Herzer. Max Herzer, I think it's in many locations, including Paris and the Berlin, I suppose. And the this is his catalog. And the a bit back of the this room is getting hot, and the it's Martin Kippenberger. Everything is everywhere, and the he's also interesting guy who passed away quite young, I suppose. He was born in the 1953 and passed away 1997. He was another generation, a new generation after Gerhard Richter and all these other interesting German painters. And the his ephemerality and his sort of like bad taste also put it to the show. And this is half of this book catalog is about text, but interesting and worth reading if you are interested in his work. So obviously I think Chris Reitz is the one who is editing and writing his one of the prominent. I mean, Martin Kippenberger is one of the prominent German artists of the 1980s. And the okay. So this is another artist from German. So I'm just trying to curate the this video, the flow of the video in a sort of like more coherent way. So ちょっと分かりやすいようにドイツのアーティストでカティンカ・ボクという彫刻家が撮った写真のカタログ、そしてリチャード・タトル、確か同一人だと思うので間違いないと思いますけど、あとはマーティン・キッペンベルガーという1980年代にまあ本当約束されたアーティストだったんですけど、97年に早く亡くなったペインターのアーティストです。OK、次、あとはアンドレ・プッツァ。OK, so I'll finish it at there is the video continue in the next flow, next one, part 2. So please wait. Thank you for your watching.